Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. Okay. A little change in venue. It's always interesting to have changes, right? So now we're all in my study.
Yeah, my change of venue, Baruch Hashem, is here in Yerushalayim. So best change of venue.
Hey.
Really?
Welcome.
Yeah, we arrived last night. So Baruch Hashem.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Good. Welcome. How long will you stay for?
Just a couple of weeks. We were here last month, and now just a couple of weeks. We'll be here.
Fabulous.
Not at all.
Wonderful. Yeah. Fabulous. Okay, so hi Golda. Sorry that I'm not by your house. I had a Baruch Hashem, a very full.
Before Shema.
I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I just had an incredibly full schedule, and I couldn't. Couldn't arrange everything. 1 second.
Okay.
Did anybody come to your house?
One person.
Okay. So tomorrow's a fast day. It's also Parshas Pinchas. It's very, very powerful times. Very, very powerful times. So I'm going to do in Likutei Moharan the very, very end of the very end. Tinyana. Tinyana means part 2. Tinyana part 2. We're going to do Kuf and Kuf Aleph. And I'm going to do them very quickly. They're very simple. But sometimes simple is the most important. At this point in life, and this point in time when the whole world is really shifting, right? In America, the whole world is shifting. And now, I read on Alan Silver News that the outgoing President Biden's brother said he might not have long to live. He's going from one end of the spectrum running for president to the other end not having too much time to live. So we see that everything is one big sheker. Everything is one big lie. So let's just learn some truth. So I'm just going to do two very, very short. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. 2 very short teachings, very important. Sipuli Shamar. Now Rebbe Nachman is telling us that there was one time when Rebbe Nachman was talking and he wasn't there. Now everybody knows that Rebbe Nachman was incredibly loyal to Rebbe Nachman, and I don't know what I just touched the button here, but something happened.
That was in what number? Which one did you say?
100. In Tinyana. Tinyana means part 2.
Yeah, Tinyana which?
Kuf.
Kuf
and Kuf Aleph. Thank you, Lucy. So Rabbi Nachman was incredibly loyal to Rabbi Nachman, and he never left his side. But now he's telling us that one time it happened, Sipuli Shamar, they told me that he said, when Rabbi Nachman wasn't there, Shemikaton ve'al that Rabbi Nachman once said that no matter how great you are, and no matter how insignificant you are, he's talking now about in Ruchnias and spirituality, the Ktanim and the Gedolim, the great ones and the more simple ones. No matter how great you are, no matter how nothing you are, you can't really maximize your soul unless you talk to Hashem every single day. Hisbodedus means you have a live conversation with Hashem, you have a running conversation with Hashem, and you tell him everything that you want to say. Rabbi Nachman said that Rabbi Nachman mentioned a whole bunch of different tzaddikim, very famous tzaddikim at that time. Rabbi Nachman does not tell us who they are. ואמר שכולם לא באו למדרגתם כי אם על ידי hisbodedus. And he said, Rebbe Nachman said, that every one of these tzaddikim became great only because they used to do hisbodedus. They used to take time out every single day to talk to Hashem. Good, thank you, Ruthie. See what Ruthie does? She says she follows chesed. She puts it on the screen, trying to figure out how to do that, and she does it. So you can follow along. וגם תפס איש אחד פשוט מנכסי הבעל שם טוב. Now Rabbi Nachman once he was sitting there when he was talking this, and he pointed out one of his cousins. Because you know that Rabbi Nachman was the grandson, was the great grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. He never met him, but he lived in his house. And one of his cousins were there, and he pointed out this cousin of his, who was also a descendant of the Baal Shem Tov, and he said, this cousin of mine, you should know that he talks to Hashem, and he cries to Hashem. And he said, Rabbi Nachman said, that the children of the Baal Shem Tov, the descendants of the Baal Shem Tov, they're very used to doing this. They're very used to talking to Hashem and crying to Hashem and telling him everything. Now this is a very big chiddush, because the descendants of the Baal Shem Tov are also the descendants of David HaMelech. In other words, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh was directly from David HaMelech. This is what Rebbe Nachman is revealing to us. And the entire essence of King David, of David HaMelech, was that he was always talking to Hashem. He was talking to him no matter what. He was breaking his ear for all the time with a broken heart. Like it says in Kuf Nun Vav, we learned this in part 1. In Kuf Nun Vav, we learned that Rebbe Nachman is explaining that what is a tehillim? Tehillim is David HaMelech wrote down many of his own hisbodedus, many of his own conversations with God, his private, intimate conversations with Hashem. David HaMelech actually wrote them down. And I want to tell you something. For people who have a hard time doing hisbodedus, I always tell people because nowadays, for some reason, our generation, it's therapeutic to write. People are journaling all the time. I have girls now. It seems like 2 girls told me, and 2 students in the last week told me that therapists in America are advising in therapy that you should write a book. Write your book, the book of your life. Now you should know that it's written as far that a person should do that, should write down the chronicles of their life. But now it's a very accepted modality in therapy. It's just write your book. And I know 2 girls who it's so good for them, because whenever they get down, whenever they get life overwhelms them, they have a project. The project is, I'm going to write my book, and every chapter is totally disconnected. It's not like they're writing a biography, and this happened and that happened. And both of them told me, and again, I'm imagining that this is a new therapeutic tool that people are using. Maybe it's not new, but this is just write your chapter. Write the chapter for today, and it's exactly what David HaMelech was. That's exactly what tehillim was. Tehillim is not a history book, as you know. David HaMelech, on purpose, he scrambled the prakim, he rearranged them so that you shouldn't see his life, and you shouldn't see it as a biography or as an autobiography or as a journal. Elama, you should see it as philos that he made, prayers that he made to Hashem, depending on the situation that he was in. So now Rebbe Nachman understands something. In Rebbe Nachman's time, it was not easy to write a book. The other day when I was cooking for Shabbos, I was using a lot of onions and garlic, as we all do. And I remembered reading, I forgot which tzaddik it was, that was so poor that he wrote his Chidushei Torah on the skin, on the paper, on the onion paper, right, the outside that we peel off of the onion, that when we get the onions they're already clean, but I guess when you pull them out of the ground, you can dry them and you get layers and layers of paper before you get to the actual onion. And that's where he wrote his chidushim, on pieces of onion paper. Could you imagine how poor they were? So Rebbe Nachman can't tell you to every single day write down, because that wasn't practical. But he does say verbalize, talk to Hashem, and we do that all the time. That's kuf. Now he continues and says, Amarsh, and now it's kuf aleph. So it's just a continuation. This is a little bit of a running thought. Amar, sha'al yidei amirat tikun chatzos, yicholim lefresh tichasol, kol asher yim lilvo, kimo al yidei hisbodus. You should know something. Tikun chatzos is also a way of doing hisbodus. It does two things. Number one, sometimes it's replacing tikkun hisbodus, and sometimes it helps you to do hisbodus. What do I mean by that? So if you read tikkun chatzos, there are many different versions of what tikkun chatzos is. The literal word, the literal meaning of it is the praises or the repair of the middle of the night. And we know that it's a very big thing. By Rebbe Nachman talks about this, that we should, and it's all prayers about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash and about the desire for Mashiach. We should the prayer that Mashiach should come. So it also means a tikun, a fixing, a repair of chatzot, of the halves, halves, half, because right now it says that a zivug, right? If you're not married, so you're half, and we're right now the Jewish people are half, and Hashem is kavayachal, our other half. So we're waiting to be able to have that unification with Hashem, the Shechina and the presence of the Shechina presence of the Kusha B'Chol. All of us are in half. We're all broken in half. We're all cut in half. Anybody who's a chutznik and made aliyah, and you didn't bring your whole family with you, so you know that you're torn in half. You have kids in America or wherever they are, and you have kids here, and you have your life is here, and your heart is here, and your kids are there, and your grandchildren are there, or your job is there, or whatever it is. It's really, we're all ripped in half right now. Everybody is ripped in half. And tikkun chatzot means a repairing, a fixing of the fact that we're all broken. That we're all broken. So here he says like this. Amar, he also said that by saying tikkun chatzos, it'll help you to open up your heart to do his borders, to talk to Hashem. So again, if you look in Tikkun Chatzos, you'll see it's made up of many different levels. There's a book here, I'll show it, I have it on my table here. It's called The Sweetest Hour. The Sweetest Hour. And this is the Breslover discussion of Tikkun Chatzos. And it has in it Tikkun Chatzos, and it has in it an English translation. The first, to my knowledge, maybe, because it's an old book, so maybe they have it now in the Art Scroll Center. But to my knowledge, it's the first English translation, and it's a nice translation. I think Rabbi Greenbaum did it. Yeah, Rabbi Greenbaum did it. You should be well and be strong and be healthy. So, so you could either do the shorthand version or the whole longhand version. It's divided into two parts. Tikun Rachel is the first part. Tikun Leah is the second part, because Rachel and Leah were not just our grandmothers, but they were also code words for the presence of Hashem in this world, the revealed presence of Hashem, the concealed presence, the before Mashiach presence, the after Mashiach presence, Mashiach ben Yosef, Tikun Rachel, Mashiach ben David, Tikun Leah, levels, layers and layers of meaning. And just on the simplest meaning that we should get out of this exile already. Look, I read this morning, and you know, I'm not a big fan of media or news or any politicians, but Netanyahu said that we're fighting now on 7 fronts. He said there are 7 different, I guess he included Yemen in that. Who would have thought that Yemen, such a backwards country, would have enough, would become so friendly with Iran that they would give them these drones, and they could come all the way to Tel Aviv. Who would have thought such a thing? But anyway, so we're in exile, even though we're in our precious and beloved homeland, our motherland, Eretz Israel, but still it's in exile, and so we want to get out of it. So you could say the shorthand version, the shortest shorthand, if you really want to do like bare bones. The most important tehillim, and you're going to be interested to hear this. The most important tehillim in Tikun Rachel is, and you know it by heart, Al Naharot Bavel. Sham Yashavnu Gavrachinu B'Zochenu Sion. That's the most important tehillim in Tikun Rachel, and the most important tehillim in Tikun Leah is Shir Hamalas B'Shuv Hashem Shivas Sion. Hayinu Kechalmin. So let's just say you happen to wake up in the middle of the night, or you wake up early in the morning, because you could say this also early in the morning. And by the way, in the Sephardic, in the Eidot HaMizrach Sidurim, that's where you find Tikun Chatzos, right before Shachris. So let's say you wake up for the Nates. You want to wake up for the Nates, and you want to wake up half an hour earlier, and catch the dawn, right? Catch not the sunrise, but the dawn, Alot HaShachar. So if you say Tikun Chatzos by Alot HaShachar, that's also acceptable. That's also good. And let's say you wake up and you see that you just, or you, whatever, you can just say these two Prakmat Tilim, Tikun Rachel, Al Naras Bavel. It's the one that we say by benching. You see why our rabbis included it in the benching? In the benching, Birkat HaMazon, in the middle of the week, what's the tehillim that you say before benching? Al Naras Bavel. And what's the tehillim that you say on Shabbos and Yom Tov and Rosh Chodesh and the right and the bris and all of that? Shir Hamalz B'Shavah Shem Shiva Sion. So we know those tehillim by heart. So the rabbis Chazal they made sure that we would know it by heart because that's the fundamental bare bones of Tikkun Chatzos. So you could say it like that, or you could say a few more tehillim. So Tikkun Rachel. The bare bones of Tikun Rachel is Tikun Chatzos, is Al Naras Bavel, and then Mizmor LaAsaf, Ayin Beis, I think, no, Ayin Ches and Tehillim, which one? 1 second. And then the first parak in Eicha, the fifth parak in Eicha, Ayin Tes, yeah. So you can, the bare bones, the next level bare bones of Tikun Rachel is Kuf Chaf Vav, no, I'm sorry. Kuf Lamed Zayin, Al Naras Bavel, and Ayin Tes and Tehillim, Mizmor LaAsaf, and the fifth parak of Eicha. And those three prakim is Tikun Rachel. Then you can say Ad Kan Tikun Rachel. Then you can say Tikun Leah. And what's Tikun Leah? So if you want to do a few of the more tehillim, because Tikun Leah is an easier set of tehillim. And the first one you also know by heart because it's a Shir Shal Yom for Sunday. Hashemayim Esapim Kvar Kel, and in that the last one of those tehillims is Shir Hamalz B'Shavah Shem Shiva Sion. And then at the end of all of that, there's a tefillah that you say, "Please Hashem, take us out of Golus." Whatever it is, and then if you want to say the full blast version, then in Tikun Rachel, which we only say the whole Tikun Rachel, we say only once. You could say it has all these keynotes, it has all these sad prayers, the kind of the prayers that we say on Tisha B'Av. And Tikun Leah has 7, I think, prakim of tehillim, and a big Yehi Ratzon, and a beautiful, and you say some Mishnayos, and there's a lot more to say, and you can open up and see whatever you want to say. But the bottom line is, Rebbe Nachman says that Tikun Chatzos opens up a person's heart and allows them to either say that in lieu of Hisbodedus, because right away you're talking about the exile, so you right away feel like, oh, and you're really, that's what we're praying for. Anytime you pray for anything, you're really praying for the end of the exile, whether you're praying for your kid to have a shidduch, or your kid to have a baby, or a parnas, or a good health, or whatever you're praying for, really the root of the prayer is, because we're in exile, we have all of these chasronot, we have all of these problems, so I'm going to pray for the geula, and that includes all of my own personal needs. Ki mistama ein omrim chatzos al ha'avar. Now Rebbe Nachman says, and Rebbe Nachman uses the word mistama. It's a very interesting word. The word mistama means probably. It would appear that. So he's not saying vadai, but he's saying most often. You're not saying tikun chatzos about the past. We're not crying. Only once a year do we cry about the past. And when is that? That's Tisha B'Av. But so we're not saying tikun chatzos are crying about the past. That's why he says mistamak. V'yikara mis chatzos wal masha naseh achshav im hadam. Really, what you're crying about is your life right now. Like, what are you going through right now? What challenges do you have? What difficulties and hardships are there in the world? What's your neighbors are going through right now? We're talking about right now. We're not talking about the past. So when you understand that what you're saying is you're crying to Hashem on things that are going on right now, Rebbe Nachman says something remarkable. He says you can find everything that's going on in your own personal life and all the chesronot and all the difficulties that you have in your own personal life in Tikun Chatzos. And guess what? You can also find the simchas. You can also find, because every one of the Tikun, both Tikun Rachel and Tikun Leah, have the last line is an up. It's not a sad, but it's optimistic. So you can find your whole life in Tikun Chatzos. And now you're gonna say that sounds familiar, because we learned already in the Kuf Nun Vav in lesson 156, which we learned already in the first part of Nikutei Maran, the Chen Amiras Tehillim. The same thing happens to you when you say Tehillim. Now, the thing is like this. We say Tehillim the wrong way. Even though I always say there's no wrong way to say tehillim. However you say tehillim is good. However, there's a better way and even a better way. And the better way is not to say so much, but rather to pay attention to what you're saying. And that's not what we do. Everybody I'm sure here is on a tehillim group. You have the commitments that you have, right? Yeah, every 2 minutes we get a chas v'shalom. We get, these emails like quickly say tehillim for so and so, whatever. So we have a lot of tehillim that we say. People say tikun haklali, which you should every single day. The tikun haklali are the list of 10 tehillim that Rebbe Nachman himself chose, and he meditated and davened for years to figure out which 10 prakim of tehillim, which 10 chapters of tehillim are the most strongest and the most, when you say them together, have the most power to affect change in your heart, in your soul, in your mind, in the world. That's tikun haklali. Everyone, and he promises that if you say it every single day, you get a cleansing. You get a total reboot. You completely cleanse your being. So you should try. Why not say it every single day? You just say Hashem. Rebbe Nachman says every single day. I say this, and I get a transformation. So we say that. And the tikun haklali, by the way, includes the Al Ras Bavel, and it includes the last two is Al Ras Bavel and the last parak of tehillim in the whole book, and that last parak of tehillim in the whole book is connected to the 10 sfirot, is paralleling the 10 sfirot. So when you say tehillim, you're supposed to say it slowly, and you're not supposed to say it. We all have commitments to say tehillim, and we do, and that's what we do, and that's also okay. But the best way is if you can say it slowly and pay attention to whatever you're up to. Let's say, for example, you do the yom. Let's say you do the tehillim of the day of the month, because the tehillim of the day of the week is a big chunk. But let's say you do the tehillim of the day of the month. It's usually 5, 6, maybe chapters of tehillim. If that's your thing, then before you say that tehillim, you could say it for the merit of anybody that you want. You could say it Ili Nishmas, for the elevation of the soul. You could say it for the merit of whatever. And and that's the tehillim that everybody's saying, like today. Today is Yud Zayin, 17th of Tammuz, and today is the 16th of Tammuz. So everyone who says the Yom is going to be saying the same prakim of tehillim today. And everybody can find their life in there. You can find your life in those tehillim that you're going to say, that you're saying today. So when you say tehillim, so when you say tehillim, or when you say any of the bakashot, any of the tefillah in tikun haklali or tikun chatzos, or any tefillah, really the whole siddur is full of, it's all tefillah. So when you say davening, we're supposed to be saying it in such a way that we find it relevant. Sorry, I'm talking so quickly. I have a lot to say. We have to find it. It should be relevant to us. It should be something that we feel is literally part of our life right now. We should feel that Hashem, these words are exactly how I need to express whatever it is I'm going through. And you should know something. You don't need to be, Rebbe Nachman says, you don't need to be a big Torah scholar. You don't need to know any Torah. You don't need to be deep. You don't need to be spiritual. You don't need to be milumedet. You don't need to be learned. Very simply, if you just understand the words that you're saying, you can find your own life. And then you can enhance, you can elaborate. You're allowed to in the middle of tehillim, or in the middle of davening, by the way. You can do this even in the middle of davening. Let's say the best time to do this is the beginning of davening, before you do Baruch She'amar. Because from Baruch She'amar until Yishtabach, we're really supposed to be focusing on praising Hashem. But the first part of davening, from Birkas HaShachar until Baruch She'amar, is the world of Asiyah. It's the practical world that we're in, and you're allowed to talk. And you can, if something hits you there that you feel personally relevant to, like in Va'al Tvi'enu Lo Lidechet. Don't bring me to a chait, into an aver, into a mistake. So right then, you could say, listen, Hashem, today I'm going to be teaching in a certain school, and I know there's a girl there that I have a hard time with, so please help me not to be mean to her. Whatever it is, in the beginning davenings, we have so many opportunities to do it your own way, to say your own personal prayers and your own personal needs in the beginning of davening. Rebbe Nachman says you don't have to be a scholar, you don't have to be even religious, you don't have to be anything. If you just read the words, our rabbis put together the siddur in such a way that the words are so relevant, they're pregnant with meaning. And David HaMelech, who had Ruach HaKodesh, who had divine inspiration and had prophecy, he put together his tehillim in such a way where every single thing that you could possibly want is there if you just pay attention. So we have quantity in tehillim. People are, on these tehillim groups. I see how people open up their tehillim and they're half an hour, on one group and half an hour in another group. And you have to let us speak. You have to fulfill your commitments. And so it's hard to pay attention, but a little bit. Because Rebbe Nachman tells us that that's what David HaMelech was doing. He was reading, he was telling you his whole life in tehillim. B'frat b'tehillim, shenemar, b'shvil klal Yisrael. Rebbe Nachman reveals to us, and he's a descendant of King David. And he is telling us that David HaMelech wrote tehillim on 3 levels. We all know this. The Gemara says this, and the Medrash on tehillim says this. That David HaMelech wrote tehillim on 3 levels. Level number 1 is what he was going through in his own personal life. Level number 2 is for the whole entire Jewish people, and level number 3 was for each individual Jew. So whatever it is, when you say tehillim, especially if you say, let's say, Ayin Tes in tikun Rachel in tehillim. It's all about the exile that we're in. It's like it's written from the New York Times. So we know b'shil klal Yisrael, b'shil kol echad ve'echad b'frat. V'chol adam, kol hamilchamot hayetzer sheyesh alav, v'chol ma shenaseh imo, v'chol mivorav meforish b'tehillim. Whatever you're going through, your own personal milchamot, your own personal challenges. You have to deal with this person and that person, or you have a big yetzer hara. Everyone thinks that their yetzer hara is the biggest yetzer hara in the whole world. And everyone thinks that their challenges are the most challenging. And that's true, because each one of us gets 100% a challenge. The only thing is that what's challenged for one person is not such a challenge for another person. So if you say that your big challenge is, let's say, eating, some people, that's their big challenge. And you talk to another person, that's not her challenge. Her big challenge is yetzer hara, is lashon hara, let's say. She always has what to say, and she has eyes, and she always sees what's going on across the street. She always sees what's going on, and she knows this one's scheduled and that one's scheduled. What time do they wake up? What time do they? Like, some people are busybodies, they're nosy, and that's her big yetzer hara. She doesn't want to be, but all of a sudden it's in front of her head, like she sees what's going on, and she's clever, and that's her yetzer hara. Another person has a yetzer hara with gambling. People have crazy yetzer haras. Everybody has, and what's for one is not for the other. And so but it's maximum for that person. So Rebbe Nachman says here that everything that how did David HaMelech write about the yetzer hara? He didn't talk about his own personal yetzer haras. He talked about his enemies. And everyone can insert into the word enemy whatever it is that their internal enemy is. Because what's an enemy? An enemy is someone who wants to destroy you, right? They don't want you to live. They don't want you to make progress. They want to stop you in your tracks. And that's exactly what the angel called the yetzer hara is tasked to do. The angel called the yetzer hara is tasked to test us and to make sure that we're fighting against pressure, that we're fighting against forces, because that's when you grow. That's when your muscles get tight, when you're fighting against forces. So our milchamot, our wars are with the yetzer hara. So he just calls it a battle. We're having a battle. And there's enemies in the battle, and there's soldiers in the battle, and there's situations in the battle. And that's how we put the whole tehillim is about his battles. That's what the yetzer hara tries to do. And again, everybody has in every stage of life, right? It says that the first stage of life, the yetzer hara is taiva. When till you become, I don't know whenever that. I didn't pay attention to when it goes away, but the first, there's three big yetzer hara categories: kina, taiva, and kavod. Kina means jealousy. Taiva means lust. Kavod means honor. So these three appear all our life. But the primary one, when you're younger, is taiva. You have desires men and women, desires clothing, desires money, desires. That's why we get married. That's the majority of marriages. That's why they get married. Then comes kina, the second section of life, midlife, is kinna. Everybody's looking to see, did you marry if you kiss yet? Who'd you marry and who'd you get? And right, and we're all looking at everybody else's. Now you have kinna when you're young and you have kinna when you're old, but in the middle of your life, that's the strongest. And at the end of your life covered, you want attention, you want people to pay attention to you, you want honor. We all know that honor and paying attention is valueless. It means nothing. Look how it goes. It says that news is news for 3 days, right? So now Biden says he's not going to become president. He's not going to president anymore. So now that's it. We're not going to hear a lot about him. To the point where Netanyahu was thinking maybe he shouldn't even have a conversation with him. But he's going to because it's politically correct to do that. But that's it. He's out. He's out of the picture. The person who was on the most talked about, he's going to be, no one is going to talk about him anymore because covered is meaningless. Covered is honor and celebrity is nothing. And if you're out of it, then you're the biggest disgrace. So all of these things are the enemies. And then you have the little enemies that fit into any one of these categories. So this is our milchamot. This is our challenges. And this is what Rebbe Nachman did. He devoted his life to trying to save the Jewish people on every different level. He's saving us literally, physically. He went into battle, and he's saving us spiritually by teaching us how to battle our inner. And he's praying for us. Some of the tehillims are so beautiful. They're praising God. He's teaching us how to say thank you, Hashem. We just say thank you, Hashem, Baruch Hashem. And Rebbe Nachman is saying, he explains to us details of how you thank Hashem. So many of the tehillims, especially the ones that we say Friday night, especially the ones that we say every single day in Shacharis, the ones that are incorporated into our siddur, they're all about praising Hashem. Bachrim, B'tzulot, Zikenim, Ne'arim. Everybody has to praise Hashem in the different ways, in the different parts of their life. In other words, when you're older, you don't praise Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, for that I can run a mile in 10 seconds. When you're older, you praise Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, that I can get up and I can walk around and I can, make myself breakfast. And at every stage, you have different ways of thanking Hashem and praising Hashem, right? The whole book of Tehillim is rooted and based on this idea of the conflict of human nature, the conflicts that people have within, and the conflict that people have between each other. And that's what the root of Hisbodedus is. If you think about what you talk to Hashem about the most, think about it. If you go back to the Hisbodedus from yesterday, or the private conversations you have with Hashem, it's all about either people or your own inside. It's about you need health, you need wealth, you need time to enjoy them. That's like Art Raymond. I guess he's Alav Hashem already. I don't know. He used to say that. Or let's say you talk about you're praying for your children or your grandchildren, and you're praying for people. How many people? The Yanuka said a beautiful thing yesterday. He said everybody has certain worlds, and in those worlds they find simcha. Some people find simcha in relationships, and they find happiness and elevation, and it puts them in a good mood. And some people find simcha in buying new objects in the world. And Rebbe Nachman says, my whole simcha is that I can be close to you, Hashem. I don't care about anything in the world. My whole simcha is my relationship with Hashem. Vani kirvat elokim litov. What's to me good? Kirvat elokim. That's all I want. Everything else, okay, you need it in this world. You need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to be dressed, you need to be sheltered. But what do you find? What world are you in? Are you in the world of Gashmias or in the world of Ruchnias? Even the world of Ruchnias. The Rav said, we don't learn Torah to become Gedolim. You know how we have an expression, the Gedolim, the great ones, the masters of our generation. So he says, don't learn Torah to become a Gadol. Learn Torah to become a Katan. Gadol means great. And we use it as a euphemism or as an expression of our great ones, our teachers, our rabbis, our leaders. So normally you want your children to be Gedolei Torah. You want them to be a Gadol the Torah, right? And he says that's a mistake. Don't learn Torah to become a Gadol. Learn Torah to become a Katan, to recognize that you're small, and only Hashem is the Gadol. And that's the battles that we're fighting every single day. Kikar klal v'shorish v'yisod kol ha'yitzot להתקרב להשם יתברך הוא רק אמירת תהילים ושאר התכינות ובקשות והתבודדות לפרש שליחתו בינו לבין קונו. And so Rebbe Nachman says the main way to know how to come close to Hashem is to say to him, to think about tehillim, to think about all the different tchinos. The tchinos means all the prayers that our rabbis throughout the years that they wrote, that they composed. And I'm not talking about the prayers in the Siddur. I'm talking about, like Rebbe Nachman's Likutei Tefillah, and the tchinas that the Tzanarena tchinas that our grandmothers had, and what's that called? The book that they have that prayer for all occasions kind of book, and the tzaddikim, the Ben Ish Chai wrote a tefillah that we say before davening. And I have a siddur here, the Chelkas Yeshua siddur that has like 80 pages. Before you from Moda Ani until Matovu, there's 80 pages. He brings the tefillah of the Rebbe Rali Melech, and he brings tefillahs of different tzaddikim and the different chassidios that they would say before davening. Some people say Shir Hashir before davening. Some people say again tikun chatzos before davening. Everybody says what they say, but all of these, so he calls those the tchinos. All the prayers that you could possibly say give us the right hashkafa. They give us the right way of looking at this world if we would only pay attention. And the main prayer that we should say is the vakesh milufanav sheyikarvehu lavanotoi baruch v'rak al yidei zeh zochin lenatzech hamilchama. The real prayer that we're asking is, Hashem, please draw me closer to you. That's all. And the funny thing is, Hashem is right here. Hashem is right here, and I'm right here, and my words are right here, but I'm so busy with a million things. That's how we all are. But Hashem is right here. He just says, pay attention to me. That's all. That's going to make you the biggest happiness, is to pay attention. Okay, so we're all human, and we all have to have like different levels of happiness in this world, and different levels of satisfaction, and different levels of accomplishment. And Hashem doesn't expect us to be 24/7 with Him. Only the tzaddikim are like that. The tzaddikim are indeed 24/7 with Hashem. How could Rebbe Nachman say that he failed 1,000 times a day? What does that mean? Of course, it's a guzma. It's an exaggeration. But how can Rebbe Nachman say that he failed? What did he fail? Did he say Lashon Hara? No way. Did he eat something without a proper bracha? No way. But it meant that for 1 second, he lost his zvekas. He got distracted. And he considered that a failure. And all the tzaddikim considered that failures. One time, the Rav, the Yanuka, so Shlomo Yehuda Be'eri, so he has different people that are fighting to help him, meaning he has a lot of people who want to be his driver, because you know what happens. First of all, you're in the same proximity. He sits in the front seat. You're in the same proximity as a tzaddik. To be in Dal and Amos of a tzaddik is unbelievable. And sometimes you even get a question in, or whatever. So he had a driver. The Rav said this story about himself years ago when he was younger, when he was maybe 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when he was newly married. And so he had a driver. I don't think it's the same driver. He's for sure not the same driver that he has now. And he lives upstairs in an apartment building. He lives up the steps, so whatever floor he lives on. So the driver used to walk him. He would park the car and he would walk him to the building, and then as long as up the steps, as much as the Rav would allow him to accompany him. So once, and the Rav said to him once, he said, "Listen, it's very, very nice of you that you want to accompany me, but I'm okay. I can do this by myself." Nowadays, he, of course, could not, because he's surrounded by tons and tons of people no matter where he goes. There are people parked in front of his house, and wherever he goes, there's a parade, but whatever it is, in those days, he said, I can walk up myself. And I don't want to, and he said to him, he said, I don't want to take away from your seder in learning, he said to his driver. Meaning, I know that you must have a seder in learning, like a specific subject that you're learning from the time you leave your car till the time you get to the building. And then you probably have another seder in learning from the time that you get to the building till you walk up the steps to your apartment. So I don't want to mivatel your seder in learning. Of course, what the Rav was saying was that's his seder in learning, that he has a seder in learning for every single second. And you see, and the tzaddikim are like that. They don't get distracted. And even if they look like they're not doing anything, they're doing gigantic things for us. For the Jewish people, they're trying to bring Mashiach now. I'm just going to finish this paragraph. So how do you win this battle, and you come close, and you're in the place in your mindset of coming close to Hashem with this idea of davening all the time. אם יהיה חזק ואמיץ מאוד, תמיד להציל, להתפלל, להתחנן לפני השם יתברך, תמיד יהיה איך שיהיה, אז בוודאי ינצח המלחמה, אשרי לו. כך הבנו מדברי רבנו זיכרונו לברכה. Rebbe Nachman is writing this, and he's writing that if you're always talking to Hashem, then you'll for sure win in the battle of life. You will be successful in the battle of life if you're always talking to Hashem, and you're asking Hashem to please draw you close to Him, and to please help you, and whatever it is, make the food come out okay, and let me find that pair of shoes that I'm shopping for, and let the children come home. Whatever it is, anything that you're talking to Hashem is going to always draw you closer to Hashem. And the main prayer that a person should have is, Hashem will always draw me close to you. Also, the tzaddikim tell us that we should all the time, at least, I don't know how many times a day, say, I hereby forgive everyone, in whatever language you're comfortable with. Hareini mochel l'kulam. Hareini mochel l'chol mi sheichis v'kniroti, like we can say to Ribbon Shalom. I forgive everyone. Say that several times a day. It right away changes your life. And now especially we're entering the 3 weeks. And we know that the 3 weeks is a difficult time in the past. And we know that it's going to be exactly paralleling the 3 weeks between Rosh Hashanah and Simchas Torah. It's the same number of days. And we know that those are the most elevated days of the year, the 3 weeks between Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the year, and the last day of Simchas Torah. It's the most connected days. It's the most happy days. It's the most davening days. It's the most remarkable days. And the 3 weeks, Chazal tell us that these 3 weeks that we're entering now are actually the source of those 3 weeks. How amazing is that? And these 3 weeks that we're entering now ultimately are going to be maybe even higher than those 3 weeks from Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, and Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, Hoshana Rabbah. And so we're entering into a very, very strong time. So at least one thing we should do, and that is try to every single day forgive everyone. If you have a phone, put it on the phone, an alarm, once a day or twice a day, and just say the words, I hereby forgive every single Jew that ever might have hurt me, whether it was on purpose or by accident. I hereby forgive every Jew in this life and in every life I ever lived. I hereby forgive every Jew. No one should be punished because of me. I forgive every Jew, and I take upon myself that I love every single Jew. Say that once a day, say that twice a day, whatever. It's very important in these 3 weeks. We always get all charged up for these 3 weeks. And we hope that the Geula comes this year. We know that, we're in this year is different than last year, Nachman? Sorry, I'll tell you a funny story. You see this cup? So this is an Israeli Osher Ad hot cup. So whenever I see shiurim and from Eretz Yisrael to shiurim, we always laugh. Everybody does this because I have those cups. I have that whatever. I saw a few times. I saw different people giving shiurim in Eretz Yisrael to shiurim, and they have the same chad pa'ami disposables that we all have at home. All right, Chaver, we're gonna stop a little bit early today, and I'm wishing you all a fabulous day. Let me just say hi to everybody on Zoom. Thank you, Ruthie, again for orchestrating and organizing, etc., and for putting up the thing, for putting up the text. It's so good of you to commit yourself to doing this. And thank you, and welcome. Ginny is here in Israel, so welcome, Ginny and Marcel. I got the package yesterday, so thank you very much. It was by my door, Kol HaKavod, and I like when you hand deliver them better, but it's okay. And I'm so happy to see Malki. Yay, Malki, we have a date in 3 weeks. Remember, the 3 weeks are over. Oh, yeah. We have a date, right? Tu B'Av, Mirz Hashem, Bezrat Hashem. Hi, Carolyn, I didn't make you go to Golda's house. And hi, Sarah, I'm sorry that I'm not in Golda's house, but whatever. And hi, Golda, and somehow people are popping off of my phone. Okay, anyway, sorry for last minute. Also, I hope that nobody, and whoever's in Golda's house, I hope that you're happy to be in Golda's house, even though I'm not there. And thank you all the live YouTube people that are on YouTube. And thank you for all the checks and the likes and for joining us. And Bezrat Hashem, we should have tomorrow a special day. You know what? I have no shiurim scheduled for tomorrow. I usually don't talk on these fast days. Um, but I don't know, maybe I'll change and something will happen that's good that we want to talk about. So if yes, then I will, put this up, if I'll talk, whatever. And we hope that something good will come out of this whole entire week. We see that the whole world is a one big question mark. That all we can do is rely on Hashem. We have no idea who our friends are. It was nauseating to all of us when we had to see the political commentaries of, oh, Dita, I thought it was you in Golda's house. Yeah, thank you for coming. Sorry, I'm hoping it's okay. But Golda's a nice person to hang around, right? Anyway, even if I'm not there. So we see that thank you. All the news people were saying, "Oh, thank you, President Biden, for all the being a good friend to Israel," and all of us were like throwing up and saying, "Yuck, how." But that's the game. They all play the same game, and it's just one big game, and it means nothing. And Bezrat Hashem, we're going to be. It's going to be such a breath of fresh air when the Geula comes and the Mashiach is going to be leading us, and he'll say Divrei Emes, he'll say real, and the whole world will be like, why can't where have our leaders been all this time, and why couldn't we have had this? And that's why the world will be so appreciative when the Geula comes. Mashiach is not going to force anyone to do anything. He's just going to say Emes. He's just going to say the truth, and he won't be in leadership for anything for his own sake at all. He's going to live in a regular house, and he's going to not be rich, and he's going to not. I mean, he'll be rich because he'll be in charge of everything, but it's not going to be about him at all. Like the Rav says, you learn Torah to be katan, not to be gadol. You don't want to be a gadol, be Yisrael. You want to be a katan, be Yisrael. But the emes to be katan. That only Hashem is gadol. Only Hashem is gadol. Gadol Hashem el Gadol Hashem v'ligdol ein cheker. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.